I care about you more than anyone else. That's an unwavering truth, even now.
I thought that you'd forgotten.
I never said anything of the sort.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News Anime Night, where we take a season of a series and we dissect it episode by episode, and we give our thoughts on the plot that's going on, the character development, all that fun stuff. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, aka Drac. I hope everybody's having an awesome day when they're listening to this. And joining me, obviously, is my lovely wife, Andrea. Andrea, how are you?
I am fine.
And by I am fine, you mean I am cold as hell, and please stop asking. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, even she agrees with this. So, I'm just going to go ahead and be upfront and honest about this, and this is going to be the only time that we refer to it, except I say that, and then we'll do it like 6 times. But, so we've technically already recorded this. And so, if we start sounding like it's deja vu or whatever, we had to record it again because my computer decided to be a dipshit, and instead of having it record on the microphones, it decided to record on Andrea's webcam that we use for streaming, which was on the other side of the room.
Well, then I'm questioning why would they know about this if we're recording it?
I'm explaining it. That's why it's coming in late.
Oh.
So, that being said, if we have a couple of deja vu moments, that's why. Because we've technically given our thoughts on the episode that we're about to talk about, which is episode 6, It Was So Foolish. So, there is an A-plot that we will get into, but we kind of start in this episode on the B-plot, and the B-plot has a lot of juicy stuff. So we're going to start there because, well, we have some good news. Reen is out of the hospital, and she looks way different than she has in the past. So
She looked like she wasted away or something.
kind of, yeah. So let's kind of explain this for a second. So the way that we know Reen is she had that, like, goth girl aesthetic. So she would be wearing, like, the see, I wish you were a little more girly so you could actually give me the correct terminology here. She'd have, like, the really tight tank tops that were basically, like, girdles. Is that the word I'm looking for?
How would I know? I don't dress like that.
Yeah, you don't dress like that, but this is what I'm saying. If you were a little girlier, you'd know the terminology, so I don't sound like an idiot.
Well, you can ask your sister-in-law.
I doubt my sister or my sister-in-law would know what these things are either. Corset? Does that sound right? Okay, I don't know. So she'd have that on, and then she'd have, like, a really tight skirt on and some boots, and then her hair, I want to say, like, went down to her butt, didn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it longer?
No, I think that's
I think it went down to her butt. And this would be kind of the aesthetic that she would dress in. And then even the hospital gown that when she was officially friends with Tohru had, like, a slit all the way up to her butt. So at that point, like, she has this kind of set aesthetic. I would actually dare say she's a little more she was a little more well endowed then than she is now. Maybe that's because of the aesthetic. But now she's like, I don't want to say she's skin and bones, but she's definitely dressing a lot different. She's much more conservative in her attire now, and they still have the aesthetic in her hair because remember, like, Akito tortured the F out of her by cutting her hair, and so her hair still looks like all fragmented, even though they've cut it short, because, like, it still had that look of, like, chunks were still, you know, here and there. But yeah, so now she is living with Kazuma Soma. We haven't said his name in a while. He is Kyo's stepfather. Or not stepfather, adopted father. He's Kyo's master, and so Reen is living with him now, just to
recuperate.
Get her out of the Soma estate and let her recoup. And obviously Haru is excited about this, but everybody is shocked when they see Reen, including Tohru, who is like, whoa, what the crap? And Haru is just enjoying the effing loving the hell out of it. Because he's just like, oh, look, everybody's showing such attention to Reen. in the only way that Haru can. So a lot of this episode is based on like people going to go visit Reen, because also her personality has kind of changed. She's still kind of abrupt, but she obviously has become a little bit more shy in how she approaches things. She's not as what's the word? Standoffish. She's not as standoffish as she used to be. She's a little bit more humble, and obviously she's very attached at the hip to Haru. So at that point, like, everybody goes to visit, including Shigure, which is the second time we've seen him in a suit? Not in his usual kimono?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, what are your thoughts when you see that? To me, it's weird, because you're so used to seeing him in that kimono that he wears,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden you see him come out in a suit. I'm trying to... What was the last time we saw him? Was that parent-teacher conferences? Yeah, because he went with Tohru. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we found out that or how Tohru found out that...
Did he also wear a suit when he was around his book editor?
Which time?
When they went to the Soma State or something?
No, he was in the kimono. Yeah, because he was in the kimono, and then eventually he went back in the kimono to go have his little confrontation with Akito. So no, he was, but his dad was in a suit.
Mm.
That's probably what you're thinking of. You know, the dad that looks way younger than Shigure. So Reen goes to go visit, or not Reen, Shigure goes to visit Reen, and ultimately, like, what the heck were you thinking? And she explains to him, like, Ren said she would give me how to break the curse if I figured that out. And Shigure is the one that kind of lets her know, yeah, Ren was messing with you, because she doesn't know how to do it. To which, you know, that upsets Reen, but Reen is just kind of working in the dojo and she's okay with it. And that strikes up a conversation between Reen and Shigure, which is basically talking about the curse itself and what they know and what they don't know. And Shigure actually decides to share a theory that he has that can't really be proven, but given the evidence that he has, he thinks it's right. He basically says that he thinks this is the final banquet. Because and here's a couple of pieces of evidence that he gives. So now he knows that Kurano's curse is broken. He doesn't know about Momiji yet. We kind of confirmed that. He doesn't know that one. But he does know about the incident with Haru. And so he's starting to think that yes, the imagery that we've been seeing of the rope fraying might be the curse. So the curse might be breaking. And at that point, the evidence that he states to that is basically that apparently this is the first time in years that all 12 Zodiac members and the cat and God have all been alive. Or all have been reincarnated at the same time. Because apparently in the past, there would be points where the rat was missing or the monkey was missing. And it wasn't a complete banquet when they would do their Chinese New Year stuff.
So that wouldn't count whether or not, like...
Apparently not.
Like any of the last banquets, like... someone wouldn't attend for whatever reason.
Well, the way that he makes it sound is the reason they couldn't attend was because they hadn't reincarnated yet. So at that point... Yeah,
but didn't they have one banquet, like...
Well, I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
So at that point, the fact that Kyo and Yuki didn't attend the previous year has basically made Shigure think that, yeah, this is the time of the final banquet because everybody's around and this would be the time for the curse to break.
Mm.
And so maybe this is starting to worry Akito. We don't necessarily know. But while he's explaining this to Reen, we find out that Tohru is listening in the background because she's been like visiting Reen every day to give her clothes and things like that. That's why she has a much more conservative attire. It's because Tohru's been giving her clothes. Wait till she gets back to her own wardrobe then. Ooh, boy! And so at that point, this immediately triggers Tohru's interest because she wants to break the curse. And she actually makes it very clear in the statements or in this conversation that she wants to help Kyo break his curse. To which this is where we get a very dark side of Shigure. Shigure basically goes off about how the other Zodiac members just don't care about the cat, and that the cat will eventually end up in that prison, and they'll all just live with it, because that's, as Zodiac members, that's what they've done in the past, and that's what they will do in the future. And we get to see a whole other side of Shigure, and he is a very much bastard, especially in how he's talking to Tohru. This is way different from when he first met Tohru, where he's that nice person that always is willing to accept lunch. No, now he's a bastard. This is the other side of the coin being shown to Tohru, and I had no problem telling you, like, when we watched this, I'm not a fan of Shigure anymore. He bugs the living shit out of me now, because, like, this is the moment where, like, you can kind of see Toru's heart breaking. He's not the nice guy that he's made it out to be to everybody.
Yeah, I remember, we were like, why did they
I literally inched over to her. I'm like, I don't think I like Shigure anymore.
Yeah, and we were like, why, if they didn't like the cat.
Oh, and by the way, Shigure also mentions to Rin, who didn't know this, is that Kurano's curse is broken. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we were like just saying that, man, why did they even bother letting Kyo stay if they all hated the cat that much, It's like...
This is a very good question. I really wish we could have an answer, because it doesn't make sense. Like, if he didn't like the cat that much, then why did he let him live in his house? Maybe it was an order from Akito, but I kind of doubt it.
Or maybe...
Remember, Shigure was exiled.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, like, he's very clearly made decisions that were against the household. But he's also kind of stayed loyal to Akito, and I kind of wonder if maybe what Akito wanted was for him to just go in his cell.
Yeah.
And instead Shigure is like, let him live with me. I have no evidence of this, but, like, there's motivations and behavior that don't make sense here.
It's either that or Kyo's master was like, you know what? Talking him into letting him stay. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird deal. I wish this is why I'm saying I don't know if I like Shigure anymore, because, like, some of his motivations don't make sense now, and the change in personality is fucking creepy. Like, this series is such a different thing from the 2002 series, where, like, Shigure would be high school girls, and now he's just like a bastard. Because he has no problem effing around with Akito. He has no problem messing around with Tohru. Because we found out from Hatsuri in the previous episode, like, he has no problem messing around with people. He just has no problem with it. And we kind of even, now that I think about it, when we had the episode where Shigure was trying to get Hatsuri and the teacher together, he was showing that a little bit. He does not give a crap.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, so that's pretty much all we can glean from this scene, but that's a lot to take in. So, it's more than likely that the curse is being broken. And part of the reasoning is that apparently this is the first time every single Zodiac member and God and the cat have all been alive at the same time. So the presumption here is that this is the final banquet, at least for Shigure. He's got no other evidence aside from that, but that's some big stuff. Like, he would know that. Like, he probably gets access to that family history, and also, the other thing I forgot to mention too, he actually confirms something that we were kind of wondering about in the Momiji episode. Apparently, when your curse breaks, like, you feel different to the other Zodiac members, and so. The way we know this is when he explains to Rin that Kurano's curse is broken. He's like, I've always wondered something about you. Something felt off, and now I think I know why. Because your curse was broken. And remember when Haru was saying, like, something feels off about Momiji, and even Kyo saying, like, wow, you feel really distant or something. So yeah, the other Zodiac members know when your curse is broken. Mm-hmm. Like, they just have that feeling. Like, something's wrong, you feel off. You feel, and I think Haru even said, like, you feel like an outsider. Something like that.
Well, so So if there was like maybe even one Zodiac member or someone who wasn't alive, the curse will just continue to remain. But if they all start,
I guess.
If they're all pretty much in existence,
But if they're all in existence, like,
does that mean that say, well, this could be the chance? You know,
yeah, this might be the
break.
opportunity. And maybe that's what Tohru's hoping for.
Mm.
So there you go. This is the B plot. The A plot here is basically that this is, if people remember, I think it was from season 1, the anniversary of Kyoko's death is coming up. And so Tohru and Hanajima and Uwatani are all getting ready for it. And even Yuki says like he'd like to go and celebrate too. Unfortunately, Kyo says he won't be able to make it, which you can tell visibly upsets Tohru. But I guess he had just something else going on. And actually what happens is he eventually, he goes earlier. And he goes on his own. And he actually runs into Tohru's paternal grandfather. So this is her dad's father. And he was actually making sure to put out flowers and everything like that for Kyoko. And so at that point, since Kyo meets with him, and I guess he hurt his back or whatever, he's sitting down, he actually just decides to ask questions about Tohru's dad. Because, like, we've learned nothing, and so this is a great opportunity for us to be able to do it. And he, you know, the grandfather basically takes this as an opportunity to kind of explain, like, you know, who, I can't remember ever his name. Oh, this is going to drive me crazy, but I will figure it out. Because his mom's name is Kyoko. I want to say it's Katsuya? Katsuya Honda. And so he kind of explains, like, the mild-mannered personality that his dad had, or that her dad had. And also explains kind of the, you know, because Kyo brings up that she doesn't talk about her dad much, and and we find out she was fairly young when he got sick and died. But also, she might have some underlying trauma when it comes to that, because, and this was a hard scene to watch. I don't know about you, but, like, they go into a flashback about Katsuya's funeral. And poor Kyoko is, you know, the usual grieving wife. She's distraught. She's kind of in her own head at that point. But Katsuya's family are such motherfuckers. They are literally giving crap about Tohru because she doesn't look like either Katsuya or Kyoko. Like, I thought it was bad enough when we had the episode where she went to go move back in with them, and they were all calling her a whore because she was living with 3 other men. So we thought that was bad, but now we find out that her family, his family has always been bitches. And I kind of wonder why grandfather hasn't just been Big Daddy butt kicker with a lot of them. Because they basically say, like, we don't know, we don't even know if Kyoko's her real mom. Maybe she was the mistress. And they even say, like, even Tohru doesn't look like Katsuya. Maybe she was just trying to get her money or get his money. And all that. It's just like, motherfucker.
Oh my.
Like, what was going through your head when you were hearing all this?
I think they're demented there. My God.
No, that whole family is messed up. I mean, the grandfather's okay, but, like, everybody else is messed up. And
the really sad thing is, it's like, well, if they were, let's just say if Tohru was adopted, surely they can find it, you know, to actually love her just as much as, you know.
Yeah, apparently they can't.
Oh,
apparently they can. And so you not only had that, but the other thing, too, that comes up is apparently she doesn't talk like Katsuya.
Since when does she
I don't know I don't even know what the fuck they mean. I guess she just used a lot. She speaks like, I don't know, a 4-year-old. Like, does it matter? But yeah, no, this is the reason that she can't possibly be Katsuya's. Kyoko was only there for the money. And so not only are they just effing up this whole funeral, they're effing up Tohru. Because we find out that she's going through a lot right now. She didn't really know her dad. And so at that point, like, all she's been told is that her dad's going off to heaven. And that because of the way that Kyoko is acting, her mom is acting, she's afraid that her mom is going to go and be with dad. and they're going to leave Tohru there all alone, which is a natural fear for any kid to have. Okay? It's a natural thing for adults to have when their parents pass away.
Mm-hmm.
And so her solution to this was like her polite speech that we're all used to. Apparently, that was how her dad talked. So in order to keep her mom here, instead of going to heaven, she decided to talk like her dad, or to teach herself to talk like her dad, to get Kyoko to stay here and be her mommy. And you hear that, and like I can already see the tears welling up in your eyes,
yeah.
and they're already welling up in mine because it's like, oh, Tohru, come on. And what's even worse is that, so they have this conversation, and that's where Kyo learns that. Eventually, Kyo goes home, and Toru's there, and she's just doing the laundry in her black dress. And so he actually decides to come up and talk to her and say, like, well, you never mention your dad much. Is there anything you can tell me about him? And she's like, no, not really. And she basically uses the bed sheet that she's hanging out to dry as like this barrier, like to protect herself. And I don't even think she's doing it consciously. I think she's just doing it. And so she's like, no, I don't really remember too much about him, but I have been told that I talk a lot like him. And so Kyo hears that. He's like, well, that's what grandfather told me, so that makes sense. But then she explains, no, actually, I taught myself to talk like this. And in fact, in reality, she hated her dad because he left and because he instilled this fear in her that mommy was going to leave too. And so she instead decided to use him to keep mommy here so that she could have more time with mommy. And so at that point, it was already bad when you heard that from the grandfather, but then you find out that she has she's punishing herself for wanting to keep her mother in her life by talking like her dad. And it's just like, oh, child, come here. Oh my gosh, this is so painful.
Mm-hmm.
So
you need to bring out the Prozac.
In huge doses. We need the big horse pills. No, horse pill's not big enough. We need the mega pill, the industrial sized pill that nobody can swallow. And she's explaining this and explaining like she apparently has been so angry at her dad, and then she's angry at herself because she was angry at her dad. And what makes it even worse is that this is pretty much confirmed what a lot of people have thought about Tohru, is that, two things in particular. So one, she has a crippling fear of loneliness. And I think it started with the funeral because she didn't want to be left alone, even though she would never have been left alone. Like, let's just say Kyoko commits suicide the next day. Her grandfather would have stepped in and taken care of her. But she was afraid. And so this created a crippling fear of loneliness, which makes you think all the way back to that New Year's episode when Hanajima had a vision out of nowhere that Kyo and Yuki needed to go back to her side. And immediately when they get there, like, she has tears welling up in her eyes. And now we know why. It's because she has a crippling fear of loneliness. She's never dealt with it. Do I need to give you a minute? Okay.
No.
All right. So you have that. And then on top of that, we all thought this was a good trait in season 1, but now we're realizing just how bad it is. Tohru is a chronic fixer. She has to fix everybody's problems. But but do you want to know what the problem with chronic fixers is, Andrea? They never fix themselves. They never, ever work on themselves. They don't ever look inward. They are more interested in, I'm going to go find the next person to fix. And she's got the same problem. She has been so busy trying to fix the other Zodiac members that she has not, like, we've been seeing this over the last couple of seasons. She's had this buildup of memories of her dad, memories of her mom, knowing her future is uncertain, knowing she doesn't know where she wants to go in life. Like, there's a bunch of things that like life choices she needs to figure out. And instead, she's trying to figure out how to fix Rin, how to fix Kagura, how to fix Kyo. how to break the curse kind of thing. And yeah, so this is a big problem, and it just makes you feel all the more bad for her. Like, your thoughts on this one? Like, I've given you a couple of minutes to kind of compose yourself, but like I said, I can see the tears welling up. This is a sad thing.
Who says I'm crying?
I'm saying the tears were welling up. I'm not saying that you were crying. There's a difference. There's degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I know this. Yeah, what's your take on on all of it? The crippling fear of loneliness, the wanting to chronically fix everybody but herself.
Well, that's the only coping mechanism that she probably has. I mean, who else? Who wouldn't?
It almost feels like the fixing is trying to avoid like the fact that she's broken too, and she doesn't want to admit it. She just wants to be the kind person that everybody else sees her being. And I'm not blaming anybody else because they don't know. That's the problem about being a fixer, is nobody knows anything's wrong with you. Because everybody just assumes you've got it together and that's why you're helping. It's not why it happens, speaking from personal experience. So, and in fact, one of the things that kind of adds on to all of this is during one of the visits with Rin, Kagura comes to visit. And she hasn't seen Tohru since she broke up with Kyo. And so she can't look at, basically she says she can't look at her because she wants Kyo and wants to have Kyo in her life. She wants to be the girlfriend because she knows what Kyo needs, but she also feels like Tohru is what he needs and what he wants, and wants to make sure that, you know, that Tohru is what he needs. And so at that point, like, Rin and Tohru get into a conversation because after this, like, the Shigure moment has happened since then. And so Rin actually asks her, like, why do you want to free Kyo of the curse? And she basically explains, like, because up until this point, she's been trying to answer that too. She's had this crippling fear of forgetting her mom because she's been so obsessed with the curse breaking that she feels like, you know, when her mom died, she made the promise that every person does when a death happens, is that you promise you will never forget them, except life moves on. And that's not a bad thing. Like, we all treat it like it is, but it isn't. And so she's been punishing herself for this as well. Like she said, she'd never forget her mom, but she's been so obsessed with trying to get Kyo well, or getting Kyo's curse broken. She's been stepping away from her mom, but then she just explains she's doing this because she wants to help Kyo. She wants Kyo in her life. To which she promptly gets a beating from Kagura. Well, and let me explain why. It's not in a bad reason, but all of these feelings Tohru has not explained to Kyo. And so Kagura gets pissed and beats the crap out of Tohru because she hasn't said it to Kyo.
Yeah, how do you love it that Kagura is like done chasing after Kyo and saying, you know, if you love him.
She's not, and it's very clear she's not, but she's just kind of come to the conclusion that Kyo's not chasing her and she's chasing Tohru. And so she's trying to let him go, but making sure that because she still cares about him, that he's still cared for. But I especially loved after that how she was cleaning up Kazuma's house because that's what Kagura does. She wrecks houses.
Yep, and you see her punching through walls or punching through doors, and you're like, yep. Okay.
Cannot handle her emotions at all. And so at that point, back into the moment. So Kyo goes in for a hug to make Tohru feel good at this point, which I think at that point we were both going, yay! But I was also saying, kiss her, you idiot! Because that's me. And then they go inside, and so Kyo asks if she has a picture of her dad. And she's like, oh yeah, I do. And we actually learned that the picture of her mom, if you open it up, there's like 10 pictures in there.
There's like a few pictures.
There's a few pictures in there. And so she pulls out the picture of her dad. And I can't remember if it was the picture of the dad or another picture that he just sees in the corner in that frame. But something happens to Kyo, And he immediately starts like acting really erratic, like something's really wrong, like really traumatized. And all we can hear from him is, I've locked this away. And then we go to a scene where Kyo is standing above a woman, and there's blood everywhere. So much so that they actually show that like the blood is under his shoe as well. And actually, we do get a memory a little bit earlier that we think that this is Kyoko, because Kyo's talking to the grandfather, and I guess at one point he knew Kyoko. And she actually said, I don't know if they actually knew each other or if they knew secrets or whatever, but Kyoko's just like, well, I know that my daughter imitated or started talking like my husband, and you know, while that was sad, it actually helped me get through it. So we have that like nice nurturing memory of her talking to Kyo, but then we have this. This is like this memory of blood everywhere, and then we get a sentence, which I actually had to go back and watch the episode to confirm this, because I couldn't remember what she said, but apparently she looked at Kyo and said, "I will never forgive you."
At least towards the end of
Yes.
whatever conversation they had.
Whatever conversation they had, and he is looking just absolutely erratic. He has said, like, I locked this memory away, and so it just makes you wonder, what the fuck happened? Now, remember, Tohru's mom, when they told her she was dead, they said she suffered a motorcycle accident. And I'm starting to think, like, when it comes to storytelling mediums, this is usually how it's done, is like that's the usual convenient excuse, but sometimes it's not the actual cause. People just look at like a puddle of blood and then they see her motorcycle nearby and go, "Oh, motorcycle accident." And I explain this, and so you're gonna have some deja vu, but I'm gonna once again put it out there. What if she took off Kyo's bracelet? What if he killed her?
I mean, that is
like in that cat state.
I mean,
what if he killed her?
That would have been a possibility, but
it would explain why he would have locked the memory away. Like, a kid does not want to remember murdering.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they want to remain innocent the rest of their life. But, like, that's... Like, do we think that's actually what happened? Maybe he was just there when the accident occurred. Maybe he's the reason the accident occurred.
I mean, he could have been at the accident. I mean, the only thing...
I've seen a lot of forums actually saying, like, after this episode, they think that that Kyo killed her because she took the bracelet off or broke it or something like that, and the real cat showed up. Like, the second form of the cat showed up. And in rage, because he doesn't want anybody to see it, he killed her. And, I mean, it would explain a lot of the blood with those big-ass hands, which I'm guessing have big-ass claws.
Yeah, hopefully he wasn't in his human form when she was speaking to him.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, is like a lot of really fucked up shit gets said to him when he's in that form.
Yeah, otherwise he would have had to take a pair of clothes with him, since I think he would have to...
Yeah, so in the memory he had clothes.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Wait, he was still wearing pants when Tohru got him out, right? Like, in that form, he was still wearing pants.
Surprisingly, yes.
Yes.
Hopefully he didn't tear them.
No, he didn't tear them, but remember, like, when she finally got to him, he turned into the other cat form.
True.
So at that point, like, he probably just didn't fit in his pants anymore. But yeah, but kind of back to the original question, do we think he killed Kyoko?
That's a question we'll have to find out.
I guess so. So, what is your theory, at least for now? He's guilty, or it was an accident?
I would say, if he attacked her in that form, I think it was mostly accidental.
Yeah, I
wouldn't think
I'm
he
of
would...
the opinion. I have, my brain goes in like 4 different directions with it, so I want to say it's an accident. I want to say it's.
I don't think he would have.
I don't want to think he's capable of that.
I don't think he would have intentionally attacked her just because she took the bracelet off, but...
Don't know.
I mean, it was probably almost the exact same thing when he...
It might not have even that she took it off. Maybe it broke.
Well, yeah, but even then, he didn't intentionally try to hurt Tohru either when he was in that form.
No, he did. He tried to get her to. Well, I guess it's debatable because he tried to get her to go away. But
yeah,
he never actually like dug the claws out and tried to scratch her. So.
Well, yeah, he was trying to find a way to scare her off.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's the problem is that in that state he gets so desperate that it's difficult to say. But all I can tell you guys is I hope I'm just hoping he didn't kill her. Because look, this season has gotten really fucked up and I could totally see them going down this direction and then I could probably never look at the series ever again because that would just tear my heart out. But that's pretty much all we can say here. So final thoughts. What did this episode do right? What did it do wrong?
Well, it just left it on a pretty much of a cliffhanger for now.
It did. There really isn't too much that this did wrong aside from my emotional. I don't know if I like Shigure anymore. This thing did a lot of things right. It's just unfortunately the other thing wrong it did was I just hate Toru's dad's family. I hate them. Yeah,
they were a pain in the butt.
I would never want to associate with them ever. Yeah, it's just it's so sad.
And I just wish Shigure would make up his mind what side he really is supposed to be on,
Well, he's already answered that. He's on his side.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what that means. But any funny moments out of this? The only one I can think of is Haru fawning over the fact that everybody's fawning over Rin.
Yeah.
That was funny. And also maybe Kagura. Because her reality check to Tohru was kind of funny. Mm-hmm. But out of 5, what would you give this episode?
Maybe a 4 point.
I'm going to give it a 4.
4.
I think it did everything it needed to. Just the trauma was not fun to deal with. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. And make sure to continue to subscribe to the RSS feed if you haven't already at geekynro.youtube or geekynro.libsyn.com. And also, you guys can check out the YouTube channel. You can check out the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. I had to think about it. Also, Spotify and Player.fm. And of course, we will catch you guys next time for episode 7 of Fruits Basket Season 3, which hopefully will not be as heavy as this one was. Dude, that was heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And until then, we'll see you next time.